All right, everyone, here goes your review video. But first, somebody wants to say hi. Say hi, Obs.
Hi.
Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Say you guys have a test tomorrow.
You guys have a test tomorrow.
Do you think they should do good tomorrow?
You should do good tomorrow. Whoa!
What do you think they should get on their test? You think they should get an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F?
A.
An A? Wow, that's pretty good. Oh, say get an A, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Say okay, bye-bye now.
Okay, bye-bye now.
She's been begging me to be on a video, everyone. So, here we go. First question, orientation opens up. We know that because this is positive. The shape is narrow. We know that because of the number in front. Remember, if it's bigger than 1, it is narrow. If it's 1, it's normal. And if it's less than 1, meaning it's a fraction smaller than 1, not a negative sign, then that would be wide. It's in vertex form, so we know the vertex is 2, negative 4. We know the axis of symmetry is x equals 2 because it's always x equals the x-coordinate of your vertex. The next two parts we're going to use our calculator for. I already have it typed in. To find the y-intercept, we're just going to press second graph, and we look at 0 is at 8. So our y-intercept is at 0, 8. And the last part is our x-intercept. So we're going to need to graph this. Zoom 6 will take you back to a standard window in case you've been messing with it. And it looks like we're going to have 2 intersections to find. So to do that, remember you just press second trace. Number 5 is intersect. Put your little blinky guy on top of this part. Click enter, enter, enter. And one of them is at 0.845, 0. And to do it again, you just press second trace, number 5 again. This time you take your little blinky, put them on top of the other intersection point. Click enter 3 times. And you get 3.155, 0. And of course, you'll have to sketch this, but you can just press second table, plot some points, and you'll be good to go. Next, write an equation in vertex form, and then we're going to do some solving. So to write an equation in vertex form, all you have to do is first move your 13 to the other side. So 1/2 x squared plus 4x is equal to a negative 13. You must factor out the leading coefficient of 1/2. Remember, you are dividing out a 1/2, so this is going to turn into an 8x. That's equal to negative 13. So to complete the square here, half of 8 is 4, squared is 16. But when we're adding to the other side, we need to multiply by 1/2, so we're only going to add 8 to the other side. That's going to give us 1/2 times x plus 4 squared. That's going to be equal to a negative 5. Bring it back to the other side, throw your y equals in front. Y is equal to 1/2 x plus 4 squared plus 5. And you are good to go. Solving. There are many different ways to solve equations. We have factoring, if it can be factored. We have completing the square, quadratic formula, and square roots. And we also have the graphing calculator. Now, if I ask you to do it algebraically, you are not allowed to use the graphing calculator. So, the first one. It's an x to the 4th problem, so we're going to just throw quadratic formula and completing the square aside because this is not a quadratic here. But we can factor it. X squared minus 4 and x squared minus 2. And this can factor even more. This is going to give us an x plus 2, an x minus 2, and then of course our x squared minus 2. So this guy is going to give us a negative 2, this is going to give us a positive 2, and this is x squared minus 2 equal to 0, so x squared is equal to 2, so x is equal to a plus or minus square root of 2. So our final answer, x is equal to a plus or minus 2, and plus or minus square root of 2. Now here's the thing, we had x to the 4th power, so you're going to have up to 4 solutions, so that makes sense. Next one. First, you got to factor out your GCF of x. That's going to leave you with 2x squared minus 5x plus 6. That's all equal to 0. Now, initially, you think that might be factorable, but I'm going to tell you right now it's not. So, for the inside here, you have to use either completing the square or you have to use quadratic formula. So, for this, I'm just going to choose the quadratic formula. Opposite of b, 5, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 25, minus 4, times a times c. And that's all over 2 times 2. Now, if you like using your calculator, you can actually type a lot of that into the calculator, but I'm going to tell you right now it's not going to give you an exact answer. So if you're not going to have an exact answer, there's really no need to use it. But if you wanted to, you can type that entire thing in and check. The only thing you can't type in is a plus or minus sign. You would have to do that part separately. So we need 25 minus 4 times 2 times 6 So that's going to give us negative 23 inside the radical, so we're going to have imaginary numbers. So we have 5 plus or minus the square root of a negative 23 all over 4. And all we have to do is finish that up and say 5 plus or minus I root 23 all over 4. But do not forget about this x we factored out earlier. So x is equal to 0 or that 5 plus or minus I root 23 all over 4. So that's quadratic formula. So let's use a different method now. Solving continued. This guy is already set up to solve with square roots. There's nothing else you should even think about for this. So you'd subtract 5 first from both sides. And then you're going to have to divide both sides by 3. So 14 minus 5 is going to give you 9. Divide by 3. So you're going to have x plus 2 squared is equal to 3. Square root both sides here. That's going to give you x plus 2 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 3. Do not forget about your plus or minuses on this test. So x is equal to a negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 3. And you are good to go. So the last method algebraically is completing the square. So I do not know if this could be factored or not. So we're just going to complete the square anyway, just so you can see it done again. First step, move the 5 over. X squared plus 6x is equal to 5. Half of 6 is 3 squared is 9. So we have x plus 3 quantity squared is equal to 14. Square root both sides. We get x plus 3 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 14. So x is equal to a negative 3 plus or minus square root of 14. Alrighty, that's that. Discriminant and types of solutions. So discriminant is just the inside of the quadratic formula. So that would be b squared minus 4 times a times c. So 25 minus negative 144 is going to give us 169. It is a positive perfect square, so you have 2 rational. But remember, if you have a positive number that's not a perfect square, that's 2 irrational. If you have 0, it's 1 rational. And if you have a negative number of any kind, it is 2 imaginary numbers. We had a lot of simplifying to do in this chapter. You can simplify with just straight up square roots. So the square root of 8, you know, is going to break down to 2 and 4 and 2 and 2. So the square root of 8 is going to be 2 root 2, but you do have this negative, so you're actually going to take out a 2i and have a root 2 inside. Square root of x squared is x, and the square root of y cubed is 2 goes into 3 once with the remainder of 1. So your final answer, 2xyi root 2y. You know you're not allowed to have a radical in the denominator, so you're going to multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 2. leaving you with 6 root 2 over 2. And 6 over 2 obviously simplifies to 3 root 2. And you're good to go on that. In order to get this 1 plus 3i out of the denominator, you need to multiply the top and bottom by the conjugate. And of course, you should imagine that all of these are in parentheses. So the top you're going to distribute. That's going to give you 2 minus 6i. Now the denominator, there's a shortcut. 1 times 1 is 1, minus 3i times 3i is going to be your negative 9i squared. Now that's only, you do not have to FOIL the bottom simply because the i's are going to cancel. That's the whole purpose of the conjugate. But if you're a little leery, make sure you show all your work in FOIL. Negative 9i squared is just going to turn into plus 9. So that's going to leave you with 2 minus 6i all over 10. And you must reduce. So your final answer is 1 minus 3i all over 5. And yes, you can have it separated if you want. Remember, you do have this little I button down here to double check your work. This, you just have to multiply the top and bottom by I. So that's going to give you 4i over 5i squared. I squared is a negative 1, so your final answer is just negative 4i over 5. And you are good to go. Notice we have a y is less than x squared plus 2x minus 8. So to graph this, of course, you would type it in your graphing calculator to get some points. It's probably not going to fit on this little grid that I gave you, so on the test you will have a grid big enough, but for this one we're just going to sketch it really quick. So you are going to have, I betcha, a negative 4 and a positive 2 x-intercept. It opens up, and I bet you it goes down quite a ways. So I'm just going to sketch it up here because being able to graph the parabola is not the difficult part. You can use your calculator for that. Just remember you have a dashed line because of the less. Less means below. So if you were shading true, you would shade below. Okay, because that's technically what less than is. That's if you were shading true. But you know, a lot of times we ask you to shade false, so that means you would shade inside of this or above the graph. So make sure you read the directions. If it does not state what to do, then pick one and make sure you tell me which one you did. To solve by graphing. So this one, you are going to obviously need your graphing calculator. So we're going to go to y equals again. Clear this guy out. 2x squared plus 3x plus 6. And graph it. Check that out. It does not even make it. So this is one of those special cases. So this could have two different possibilities. Since it never touches the x-axis, we are going to have either no solution or we are going to have infinite solutions. So, or all real numbers. This is greater than 0, which means we are looking at everything that is above the x-axis. So since every part of this parabola is above the x-axis, this would be all real numbers. Okay? Now, if that was saying less than, then there would be nothing below. That would be an example of no solution. Next one. Algebraically, so that's going to give us x minus 3 and x minus 2, so x is equal to 3 and 2. Now those are just your critical points. So you are going to need to test something to the right, the middle, and the end. So all you're going to need to do here is substitute in a 1, and that's going to give you a negative 2 and a negative 1. So is 2 less than 0? The answer is going to be false. Now you can imagine once you show this, that's going to be true and that's going to be false. So You can also think about it as less than since there's no negative in front. So and statements are going to be in the middle. Just make sure you write your statement. 2 is less than x, which is less than 3. Open circle on the 2, open circle on the 3. Connect the dots, la 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 la, and you are done. Almost done here. Write the equation. So the vertex, so you're going to use vertex form. That's y is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k. We know our vertex is h and k. Our point is x and y. So 5 is equal to a times a negative 2 minus 2 squared plus 3. Negative 2 minus 2 is a negative 4 squared is 16a plus 3. Do not ever call that 19a. Subtract your 3. 2 is equal to 16a. So a is equal to 1/8. Write the equation. So y is equal to 1/8 times x minus 2 squared plus 3. And you are good to go. Next one. Y is equal to a times x minus p and x minus q, where p and q are your x-intercepts. Here is your x and y again. So we have a negative 2 is equal to a times 1 plus 2 and 1 minus 4. So 1 plus 2 is 3. 1 minus 4 is a negative 3. So that's going to give us negative 2 is equal to a times a negative 9. So a is equal to 2/9. So your final answer would be y is equal to 2/9 times x plus 2 times x minus 4. Last one with a little bit of room. This is a standard form one. You have 3 points. Y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. And then we're going to substitute our y's in. So that will be a negative 6, a positive 10, and a 42. Equals, equals, equals. Now here's the thing. These are x values, not a, b, and c values. So this is going to be a, and a, so you do not get confused. The only thing you're going to do is substitute in your x. So this will be a 0 squared, a 2 squared, and a 4 squared. Plus, we have our b times our 0, our b times 2, and our b times 4. And then, of course, it's just going to be plus c for all of them. Now you need your inverse matrices. So with little room we have left, here you go. Now that's just going to be our 0 squared, 0 and 1. 2 squared is 4, 2 and 1. 4 squared is 16, 4 and 1. So the c's are always 1. This will always be the square root of the middle one. You're looking for your a, b, and c, and that's a negative 6, 10, and 42. Now, because I have taught you a lot of secrets with your graphing calculator, remember, you need to use inverse matrices to show me all of this is how it was solved. But if you press Stat and you click Edit, remember, you can type in your x and y's into L1 and L2. And then you can go to Stat, slide over to Calc, but remember, this is a quadratic, so we can use number 5, quadratic regression. Go down, click Calculate, and we are going to get an A of 2, a B of 4, and a C of negative 6. So we know that the final answer to this, even if you did inverse matrices, would be y is equal to 2x squared plus 4x minus 6, and you are good to go. So I hope you found this video helpful. This is pretty much what's going to be on your test for the next 2 days. Just remember the word problems. There are 3 word problems, and if you understand all the concepts, just use your graphing calculator for the word problem. So if I give you an equation, such as dropping a ball, type the equation into y1. If it says it's going to land in the water, or hit the ground, then Y2 is 0 and go find where it intersects. If it says that it's going to land in a hole or splash inside of a wishing well that's 10 feet deep or below the surface of the ground, then put a -10 in there and go find that. If it says that you're throwing a ball up in the air with initial velocity of 20 feet per second and you want to see how long it takes before it hits 40 feet in the air, then put a Y2 of 40 and use your calculator to do all the hard work. If you want to do it algebraically, you can. I'm just telling you, if it doesn't say you have to do it algebraically, just use your calculator. All right, so that's it for this video. I hope you found it helpful. Good luck. And this is Longo and I'm out. See you, bye.
Micah, can you say bye-bye?
Bye-bye.
Say bye, guys.
Bye.
Say bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh. Say bye-bye.
Bye.
So extra bonus for you. Write my daughter's names at some point in time on your test tomorrow. The 4-year-old, it's her actual birthday tomorrow, is Auburn, and the youngest, the one you just said bye-bye to, is Micah. And bye-bye. I'm not going to tell you how to spell their names because if you actually get that correct, that'll be an added bonus. All right, everybody. That's it for this video. See you soon.